Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Live around the world on the internet at MichaelDukesShow.com and across the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or FM translator. Hello, my friends, and good morning to you. It's Monday. It is Monday. And wow, a lot of stuff happened on Friday. And I'd love to say that I am shocked and surprised. I'd love to say that. Unfortunately, that would be a lie. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. I'm not shocked. When you can't get your way, in an above board manner, you deceive, you obfuscate, you inveigle, you do all the things to get your stuff in, and that's just how you roll. That's how you roll with parliamentary procedures and tricks and a shell game, and that's how you get things going on when you can't make it. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about exactly what went down on Friday. Even the ADN, by the way, caught the smell of what was happening here and was like, what? It is pretty crazy. Unless, so if you haven't been following along at home, and you're not in the know, which I'll be honest, I wouldn't blame you. I wouldn't blame you if you are there and you're like, well, I'm just not follow. No, I would not blame you not for one iota, because this is the same kind of shenanigans and monkey shines that we've come to expect from the Alaska legislature in this day and age. Clown show. I know that's what one of our listeners in the chat room says all the time about he calls it the Juneau Clown Show. And he's not wrong. He's not wrong at this point. It is a total clown show, and the cars just keep getting smaller and the feet just keep getting larger. That's what's going on right now. So we're going to talk about this today, and we're going to talk about all the shenanigans, and more importantly, the why this all went down. Because quite honestly, this is all for nothing. This is all for nothing. All the shenanigans and the falderall and the just the deception and the lying and it's all for nothing. Or maybe it's for something. Maybe it's for long-term strategery. Maybe the Democrats in the majority in the House are trying to play fifth dimensional chess here. And they're trying to play the long game. I don't know if that's going to work for them. I don't know if they're going to be able to use that later on. But by golly, I certainly would hope not. But we're going to get to the why. we're going to get to the why here in just a bit. But it's all about politics and perception and blame. That's in the long run, that's what this is all about. This really wasn't about the children. This really wasn't about, truly supporting education or anything else. This was about sticking it into the eye of people, and basically later on trying to say that it's your fault. That's really what it's about right now. And I know that I'm talking around it right now because I'm trying to build it up a little bit. I just want you to build it up, and I want you to stick around and listen to this discussion this morning, because it's truly shocking. And then we're going to look at what happened. I mean, even the kids are in on this. Even the kids are being used as pawns in this little melodrama with a statewide walkout. Students stage statewide walkout, urging the BSA increase as education funding bill passes. That's the headline in KTUU. Interestingly enough, KTUU doesn't catch on behind the scenes as to what was actually happening in there. And the more I watch this, and the more I'm, KTUU has been a pretty solid source over the years for a lot of information. This is a total sidebar. Has been a good source for a lot of information, but they lost their Fairbanks affiliate. And so now everything's going down through the Anchorage studio, I guess you can say. And it just seems like they're starting to lose their insight into a lot of the stuff that's going on here, which is a little frustrating to watch, because we need more coverage of a lot of this stuff, not less. We need more coverage, not less, of a lot of the things that are going on out there. And it's a little frustrating to watch. But anywho, we're going to get into all this and more here as we jump in for the week rather, on this big Monday. And we'll see what the useful minds full of mush have been utilized for here, and this and more as we continue on. You know what? I guess I will. I'm going to open up the phone lines in a little bit, and I'll give you guys a chance to sound off on this. I'm not quite ready yet, because I want to set the stage before we get too far along here. I want to set the stage and get things kind of up and set before I start to take any phone calls from you. But you should be frustrated, and you should be agitated. You should be much more frustrated with what's going on here in your state than you are anything at the national or international level. And this is why I have continued to say for the last 10 years that the things that happen in your own state, in your own backyard, are much more important than what happens out there in the never happens at the national level or at the international level, because this is the kind of chicanery that is going on and that we're just not catching on to. And quite honestly, that our local news media is not really even covering that much. Now, ADN did happen to catch this, which is good and great, but it's not the deep dive that I think really needs to happen, unfortunately. And we'll watch what's happening. We'll go over what's happening here as we continue to run through this. Big weather warning, I guess I should start off with. Big weather warning. Up in the interior, they've got a wind advisory for the Denali Borough, 35 to 45, gusts up to 65 in the Denali Borough. Southeast Fairbanks Census District, 25 to 35, gusts up to 55 miles an hour, and that's south of Fairbanks itself, the Southeast Fairbanks Census Area. Alaska Range north of Trim's Camp through 1 p.m. today. And then down on the Emerald Isle, the Isle of Kodiak, snow and blowing snow. Accumulation of 4 to 8 inches. Plus, on top of that, just in case that wasn't fun enough for you, wind gusts as high as 45 miles per hour, strongest along the Shelikof Strait, south to west sides of Kodiak Island until 8 a.m. this morning. Travel is going to be difficult and more. So that's the big winter weather advisory here on the program as we get ready to rock and roll. I wanted to make you aware of that. All right. So where are we going to start? Well, we should start back on Thursday, when a Senate panel was working on the education measure that had been passed over from the House. And you knew things were amiss when, just out of the blue, now remember, let me set this all up for you. The governor had been very clear from the very beginning that he was amenable to a increase in education, but that it was going to require a couple things. One, it had to be a reasonable increase. And two, it had to have some policy provisions in place to help change some of the things that were going on, including some stuff for charter schools and, so he had proposed a boost for teachers and some other things, but he wanted to see some policy involved in this. And many of the legislators have talked about that, the different forms of policy, because they didn't want to just give a blank check, essentially, to the school districts, which is what the school districts were all advocating for. And the folks in the legislature have all been advocating for. Oh, just shut up and give us the money. If I hear one more time, we're not failing, we're starving, that has become the mantra. We're not failing, we're starving. It's not our fault. We just didn't have enough money. If you are buying that, man, I got some, Gulf Coast oceanfront property to sell you in Nevada, right? I mean, it's crazy. Well, on Thursday, the Senate panel removed all of the policy provisions from the education package that had been passed over from the House. Not just some, they stripped every policy provision out and made it just a straight $1,000 boost to the BSA. That was it. It is the shut up and give us our money bill, just right out of the blue. And Dunleavy basically said immediately that he said on Thursday, right after, he said he would immediately veto the education measure unless it was amended. You're just like, he said, his quote is, "The Senate's new education bill is a joke. It does absolutely nothing to improve educational achievement. It does absolutely nothing to support our high-performing charter schools and our popular homeschools. This is an obvious attempt to strong-arm members of the legislature. This is an NEA teacher union dream. Hundreds of millions of dollars in new spending and no accountability called for." I mean, he's been very clear about what was happening here. Very clear that, again, he was amenable to a rise in education funding, but that it was going to require some policy things to be included. And they have been kicking and screaming and dragging their feet the whole time. some of the things got in there, and I'll be honest with you, I'm actually happy that some of the stuff got pulled out of there because they had some onerous kind of these double standard oversight things that they wanted to do for public for homeschooling and everything else. But then they just took it all out, all of it out. And he, again, has been very clear that if there were no policy changes, he was going to veto it. And even Gary Stevens, you folks who are listening down in Kodiak, even Gary Stevens said, and is quoted, saying that he expects the House will quickly pass the stripped down school funding bill and that the governor would veto it. So they know that the governor was going to veto. So why? He then went on to say, can we override the veto? I think that's sort of up in the air. There's actually another quote of him basically saying he didn't think it was possible. It was looking bad because it would require 40 of 60 legislators to override the veto. And this whole thing, I mean, this whole thing is just, this whole thing is madness right now. We're going to continue this discussion about kind of everything. This was Thursday. Then this is early Thursday. Then it went back to the House, and there was all kinds of shenanigans on the operating budget, the size of the PFD, and more. We'll get back, and we'll come back to this here in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes On Demand. Oh, and it's free. Like America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay. This is some crazy cheese, some crazy stuff. Let's see. David has just said SB 82, the governor's bill, will be heard today in Senate Education at 3:30. I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see what's happening there. Yeah, those Friday walkouts, that was totally spontaneous, Brian. Totally agree. Totally agree that was completely spontaneous. Why didn't somebody put in a call on the House, said Ron. Well, that's a good question. I don't know if one was attempted. I know that basically the whole thing was on rails, and the Republican minority was kind of basically sidelined the whole time. But, I don't know. I don't know why there wasn't a call in the House put on. Kim says, total BS. Who knows? Maybe the 3 Republicans who took the day off were in on it. I doubt it, because one of these was I know that Will Stapp was supposed to be, it was announced. It was a big town hall that they were having. He had to get up to Fairbanks, and we'll get into some of the details on that. But I don't think that there was, somebody was in on it. But we'll see what happens here as we go through. I'm reading what you have to say here. Rick says, Shelly and Kathy, you should be coming on here. It's not Kathy. It's Mia. Shelly and Kathy, you should be coming on here and apologizing for believing the other side again and again and again and again. It is the Lucy in the football. Promise not to pull it out of the way this time. I really promise. I'm sorry. I'm going through here. Good morning. This is my surprised look, says Frank. My surprised look. Ron says he believes that they know they have the votes to override the veto. I hope I'm wrong. They're not what I'm hearing. I mean, they couldn't even get the rural Democrats to vote in the committee to get some of this stuff turned over. And I know Nellie Jimmy voted for it on the floor, but I mean, I don't think there's any way, Mike Kronk, thank you, Mike. Mike says when Ron said, why wasn't there a call on the House? They were excused. There's no call on excused absences. So, I hate to say this, says Frick, but I think your format needs to change. Let's do nice, good stories on Monday. Cheer us up. Then you and all of us can get all mad and depressed on Tuesday. Rick, I might take that to heart. I might take that into consideration. Good news Monday, right? Nothing but good news. Maybe we'll end up the show with some good news today. Rick, it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea. All right. No one should be absent, says Cindy. Taxpayer dollars at work. Nobody should be absent from the legislature. It's a tough situation for sure. All right, let's get back to it. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Here we go.
The Michael Duke Show. Not your daddy. Wait, sorry. Not your daddy? Ooh, not your daddy's talk radio. Whew. I was scared for a second. Thought we were going down. Here's Michael Dukes and the show.
Okay. So, where were we? Rick just had a great suggestion. He said, hate to say this, but I think your format needs to change. Let's do nice and good stories on Monday. Cheer us up. Then you and all of us can get all mad and depressed again on Tuesday. Cheer us up, man. Cheer us up. Dance, monkey, dance. I'm not here to be your fun monkey. He's just like, Bill says, I agree with Rick. Had all I can stands and I can't stands no more. I mean, guys, I'm with you. I was watching this stuff all weekend, and I was, even with my no news on the weekend, kind of, I have kind of an unwritten rule about I try not to follow anything on the weekend because I'm trying to have a little bit of mental health release and, all that kind of stuff. But even I was catching stuff all weekend long. All weekend long, was getting messages and there was emails and there were stories and people were linking stuff to me. And it was like, I'm with you. We need a fun day Monday. For reals fun day. I maybe we should move Chris to Monday. Somebody, Jeannie just said. Yeah, guys, I feel your pain. I feel your pain. So then what happened? So after the Senate stripped out the after the Senate has stripped out the education policies from the bill, then we get into this stuff that went on. Then we get on to the whole Thursday thing and the absolute spin cycle floor session. That's what Suzanne Downing talked about. So on Thursday, after the Senate committee, after the Senate stripped everything out, all the finance committee in the Senate stripped everything out. Well, then it just leads to a complete and total train wreck of a hearing on Thursday evening. This wasn't specifically with education funding, but you could see where this is all kind of coming together. They tried to adopt on Thursday evening, the majority in the House tried to adopt a new version of the budget. And then all of a sudden realized they didn't have enough votes to get it across the finish line. Remember, part of the problem is that Bryce Edgmond had left in that $3,900 PFD. Now these are tied together. I'm kind of shifting gears a little bit. Follow along with me here, okay? Because we had the education, which we're going to get back to, and now we're on to the operating budget. So they thought, well, they're going to bring this thing to the floor. There's going to be discussions on Thursday. They must have enough votes, they think, to get this new budget passed. But there was a 5-hour delay. The majority members couldn't figure out an agreement. They couldn't come to an agreement on the size of the PFD, and they kept, saying, well, we're going to have to go to the minority to do all this kind of stuff and everything else. And after a 5-hour delay, the House Finance Committee finally met late on Thursday evening, and they were going to adopt a version of the budget. But again, they still couldn't do it. They still couldn't do it. And so what did they do? Well, they backtracked again. And they pulled it back from the floor, and they hunkered back down. The House minority members were kind of left flat-footed, and they were furious as majority members rushed to a vote and tried to adjourn. And so this was like, okay, all right. After less than half an hour, majority members abruptly backpedaled, according to the ADN, withdrew the new budget bill, and reverted to its previously adopted spending plan with a statutory dividend. And then they said, well, we'll hold up, and we'll have a cooling off period. We know some of you have got to go to different places, and we won't hold any more budget amendments until Monday. That's what they said. Until Monday. And I mean, there were some pretty harsh words on this. Will Stapp from Fairbanks suggested the majority were acting like clowns, quote unquote. Oh man, the decorum. And Mia Costello said she was ashamed at the budget process being used by the House majority. This was on. So then, this was Thursday night. Okay, we're not going to do anything until Friday. Then on Friday, after 3 members of the Republican minority left town because they had been told, oh, trust us. Trust us. This will be fine. Don't worry about it. Trust us. We're not going to do anything until Monday. So Mike Prax and Will Stapp and Lexi Moore all left town, heading back to, I know that Will Stapp, I think Mike Prax had a town hall this weekend. I know I know Will Stapp was doing a conjoined town hall with Scott Kawasaki on education and some other things. I don't know what Lexi Moore was doing, but I'm assuming it was, back to the constituent outreach stuff. So then on Friday, the majority waits till late in the day and then drags everybody out to the floor session and brings forward a budget amendment to reduce the dividend when these three people are not there in the room, because it would have been a 20-20 split. It ended up being a 20-17 split. This is, again, after they said we won't be doing anything until... Are you guys surprised? Come on. Are you really surprised? They saw the opportunity and they took it. The vote was 20-17 to reduce the dividend to roughly $1,420 per person. They were just, I don't know, I just don't even know, man. I don't know. I'm not surprised, but I'm just flabbergasted at how we can continue. It's Lucy and the freaking football, and Charlie Brown falls for it again and again and again. Willie Keppel's got an article over on Must Read where he talks about the Friday commentary, and especially from Nellie Jimmy, who is the Democrat from Tooksuk Bay, about how she goes on and on about the dividend and everything that it means to the community. And then she goes ahead and votes against a full statutory dividend after all that. She said it's being dangled like bait in front of her constituents. And then she goes on to chastise the rest of us that it's money for vacations and a truck. It's not to buy a new truck or extra money for vacations. I don't know where you're living, but I never used my dividend for extra vacations or a truck or trips to Hawaii or hookers and blow or whatever it is that you think we were using it for. We were doing things like putting heating oil in the tank and putting tires on the vehicles. And this whole thing is, again, you guys, you keep getting caught flat-footed. I mean, I hate to be mean to the minority, but come on. You didn't see this coming? You didn't see the trust us, it'll be fine, we promise not to do. You didn't see any of this coming at all? Come on, guys. This is how they operate. Frank Tomaszewski of Fairbanks said the minority caucus was told there's no amendment debates on Friday. He said 3 Republican minority members were absent from the Capitol, believing budget debates would not occur. But in a prepared statement, proving, by the way, that they knew this was all part and parcel of the plan. They knew that this was all part and parcel of the plan. In a prepared statement, they said that the dividend needed to be reduced in that way because of the shambolic, I love that word, the shambolic House Finance Committee hearing on Thursday. Now, shambolic, by the way, means confusing and ineffective, and it's a great word. So their argument was, today, after weeks of wrangling over budget details and failing to reach a compromise, the Alaska House Majority Coalition passed an amendment to the operating budget that reduces the deficit by roughly $1.6 billion and creates an affordable and sustainable PFD. The intention was to wait until Monday to begin the amendment process as would normally occur. However, after the events last night in the House Finance Committee made painfully clear, any attempts at finding middle ground would continue to come up short. And with that in mind, it became clear that it was the only path forward to maintain funding for essential services, provide for meaningful permanent BSA increase, and a healthy but sustainable Okay. let me pull this right here so that I can read you and look you right in the eye when I say this. With that in mind, it became clear that it was the only path forward, that lying and deceiving and telling them that they were going to hold everything back until Monday, that the only path forward was to lie. After last night's events in the House Finance Committee were made painfully clear that any attempts at finding middle ground would continue to come up short. We can't get our way. And so it became clear the only path forward was to lie and tell everybody we weren't going to do anything on Friday, that it would be Monday. And so here we go. This was just waiting in the wings. This was just ready. They knew that it's all planned. They're all doing it on purpose. They're all in on it together. It's right there in black and white. Are you shocked? Are you I don't know why you would be. You know what's shocking? That the minority falls for it over and over and over and over again. Not that I don't know, what would they have done? Just hold and cloister everybody in Juneau until, well, maybe at least until that portion of the budget, until at least that part was passed. This is the only way we could do this, is through underhanded methods. It became clear that it was the only path forward. I love the essential services thing. Essential services, meaningful increase. Oh, bad. Okay, so that's part 2 of everything that happened. And we're going to talk a little bit about the public process and more. But the big question is, why? Some of these things, especially on the education vote, why are they doing that? We'll get back to that here in just a moment. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio.
Listened to by more staffers in Juneau than any other show, because their bosses told them to. And after what they just heard, oh man, they're going to be pissed.
You're a bad, bad man.
The Michael Duke Show.
Okay. All right. You know, I'm with you. I think I need to pull some good news. I think I need to pull some good news off the thing. Let's see. That's a good one. That's a good one too. All right. I got a couple stories here. We'll read them all together. We'll read them all together as we go through. Let's see. Plays map 3D. It's like exclusive forest. Computer chips running speed of light. Boost better performance for energy. Okay. All right. We'll I think we'll come back to some stories. All right, let me you know. Let me go back up to see what you guys are talking about. Told them to knock. Rep Jimmy called out the majority for using the PFD as bait. Told them to knock off the lying. Okay. It's your story. Cool story, bro. Cool story. Brad's going to lose his mind tomorrow, says Angie. Yeah, well, you know. Jeffrey says the legislature is a prime example of one-on-one people are okay, but en masse they suck. He's not wrong. He's definitely not wrong. You know? That whole thing was just a joke. Back to Kim's statement. Stupid. Willie is, I suppose I should turn the phones on. I'm sure Willie's got some things to say. Your Nelly Jimmy article was really good, by the way. I appreciated that, Willie. I'm sure Willie would like to say something. I guess I'll finish up my commentary and then open up the phone lines in the second half of the show today. Willie says, I've been thinking about Senator Meyer's post that kids have to pay tuition for schools through the theft of their own PFD. It's a thought provoker. Charge kids, teach them to fail, and make them pay for it, essentially. That's essentially what's happening. Making kids pay for their own tuition and they're failing all at the same time. Thank you, Chris. I thought for a while there I was the only one who didn't agree with we need taxes on Tuesday when the other days we get tax me harder, daddy. I've said it many times, folks. I'm not a fan of taxes, but we have to at least have conversations about it, don't we? I mean, because otherwise they're just going to tax us anyway. And then we won't have had any say and we won't be ready for the discussion. I don't want taxes. I'm afraid that if we do get taxes, I mean, first of all, I'm afraid that they're probably inevitable, but that if we do get them, all they're going to do is then turn around and spend them. That's what I'm afraid of. You know, that's my fear at this point. Angie says they waited until the 1 p.m. flight left just to be sure they were all gone. Of course they did. I'm surprised they probably didn't have people following them to the airport. You know, Cobra 10. Are they on the plane? Are we ready? Okay. It's a go. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't have somebody just following them to the airport, watching them getting on board. Lori says, how is this even ethical? Oh, wait, never mind. Yeah. And Rita says, and the R's will not mention it in election cycle ads. R's continue to play nicey nice. I mean, you know, it's the question. Did they get duped or was it part of a plan? Said Fat Ray. I don't know. I can only assume they got duped. The outrage appears to be legitimate, but you know, at this point, who knows? They're all in it together.
Public enema number one. Oh, wait, sorry. Enemy. Public enemy number one, which makes more sense. On the other hand, he's a little bit of a pain in the Michael Duke show.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, somebody was asking, I mean, was this on purpose or was there collusion? You know, this whole thing Did they get duped, or was it part of a plan? I don't think it was part of a plan, but I think they kind of got duped. I think they kind of got, I mean, they waited until the 1 p.m. flight from Juneau left before they held this meeting. They knew those people were on the plane. They knew that Will Stapp and Mike Prax and Lexi Moore, they know that they were gone, and they knew it. Apparently, Frank Tomaszewski got the bill, the new 30 minutes before it happened. 30 minutes. And then he tried to do something, but it was already too late. It was already too late. So the big question is, why on some of these things? Now, on the PFD vote, I could see why. They made a boo-boo, and they saw an opportunity to get the bill passed, and they took it. Okay, there you go. There you go. I guess that's, they took it. They took the opportunity. But on the Senate side, why would they strip all the policy out of this and then play a game of chicken with the governor? Because the governor was very clear. He's in favor of an increase for the BSA, but it had to have policy included in it. Why would they do that? Especially when Gary Stevens was on record saying that they basically didn't have the votes to do the override. Now, he had some kind of cutesy comment after this was, well, we'll have to see kind of thing. But in previous quotes, when asked about a governor veto on this, he had basically said they don't have the votes to override. So why do it? Well, there's some real Machiavelli kind of fifth dimensional chess stuff going on here. This is all about the long game at this point. See, they want the governor to veto it. They want the governor to veto it. And then they want to try and get the Republicans on record as not supporting a veto override, because then in the next election cycle, they're going to want to turn around and tell the voters, well, that these Republicans voted against education funding. Now, the question is, will the electorate buy it? I mean, certainly the funding at any cost crowd's going to buy it. They're going to lap it up like mother's milk. But will the independents, the people in the middle, the people who are not, one side or the other, will they buy into it? I don't know. I seriously doubt it. They want to try and hang this, one around the governor. Oh, he vetoed it. Mike, he hates education. And then they want to do exactly what they did in this last cycle, where they want to paint any senator or representative who votes against an override as being anti-education. I mean, because let's face it, right now, education is swinging the biggest club in the state, right? I mean, they've got the biggest hammer in right now. So they fully expect this to fail. They fully expect it to fail. I mean, Lyman Hoffman and Bert Stedman voted against this and said, whoa, wait a second. What is that? I mean, this is not, but it doesn't matter. They fully expect it to fail. And then they can come back in the next election cycle and say, well, see, they don't like education. That's what this is about. They're going to try and use this later as leverage to say they could. I mean, they've been talking this whole time about how the $1,000 dividend, there's quotes from some of the Senate, members who said that the $1,000 is just not sustainable. Although I did have to laugh because where was the quote? It was that wasn't it. I think it was from, I'm sorry. Let me go back over here. I think it was Lyman Hoffman that basically said, "Oh, well, now they're showing that there's a real support for the $1,000." Where is the quote? There's so many stories about this. So many stories about this. Anyway, the quote was, I think, from it was Lyman Hoffman basically saying, "Well, now we've discovered that that there is support." They've been talking for weeks about how the $1,000 increase is not sustainable. People like Bert Stedman, et cetera, and even Gary Stevens acknowledged that that's going to be a hard pill to swallow. And yet, when it was all said and done, they voted to strip out all the meaningful stuff and then send the $1,000 anyway. The answer to this whole thing is they did it basically for political theater, political purposes. They fully expect that the governor is going to veto it, and then they're going to try and make hay with that in whatever way they're trying to make hay in it. Either they're going to hold it against the governor for vetoing it, or they're going to hold the votes against any legislator that doesn't uphold a veto override. It's just all time wasting nonsense to make a point later on. They know that the final number is probably going to be 680. Probably 680 and a $1,400 dividend. That's all I've been hearing for the last 2 weeks, is that that's probably where it's all going to end up. So this $1,000 falderall and all this machinations, it's all just to make a political point and be able to, again, deceive, inveigle, obfuscate, and then try and hold it up later for the electorate and to basically use it for the election cycle. That's what this is all about. So what did we learn here? I guess it's all about the perception and the politics and the next election cycle. And I guess we also learned, you guys in the minority, you can't trust a word these guys say. Nobody should leave town until a few things are settled, like the size of the PFD, etc. Nobody should leave town. Because this is what happens every time. All right, we got to go. Back with more. Phone lines are open up next. The Michael Duke Show. Thanks so much for calling. Okay. I mean, I don't know why we're surprised. They just continue to stick it to you. I just, again, this should not be surprising to anyone.
All participants are muted.
Okay, phone lines are up. Ready to go. Ready to go. Ready to take some calls. See what you guys have to say. And maybe we should just go on to good news. Maybe we should. Because, quite honestly, I'm with you. This is just nutty. Absolutely nutty what's happening. I mean, nobody's surprised that this is kind of what happened. But there you go. let's see. I'm looking to see good news about homemade food. I saw your email, Frank, about the food thing, and I apologize. I haven't read it yet. I'm sorry that I haven't read it yet. I'm going to later today. Cindy says, when we are this close to the end of the session, everyone absolutely needs to be present. Yeah, well, you know. Ron said, wow, ow. Nellie missed her calling. She's a great actress. Not as good as Natasha, but good. Let's see. All part of the plan. Let's see. You aren't alone. Track record and all. Like buying a bottle with him promising not to open it until next year. Oh, Harold. God, man. Seriously, son. Alaska majority politicians are honest, stand-up folks who have the best interests of all Alaskans in their priority. Yes, I know. It's Rob says it's to get the $1,000 amount vetoed so they can start over. I mean, that is another reason, because they can't go anywhere else on that. But I also think it's for political reasons, Rob. He's not wrong either. I mean, because they were kind of at loggerheads in a stalemate. And they need to start over. But it is also, again, I don't think Rob would disagree with me that there's also some political gamesmanship at work there as well. Yeah. Amy said they used that tactic against Ben in the last campaign. Right. I mean, because he wouldn't vote for the override. That's what they beat the hell out of Ben Carpenter with. Willie, if you want to call in and talk about your article today, feel free to do so. The phone lines are up right now. In fact, I guess I didn't throw the number up there. Sorry, 319-527-3864. 319-527-3864. Senator Kronk stated it well. This will be a public massacre for them. For who? For the Democrats or for the Republicans? Bill's like, please just go to the good news. Please just go to the good news. And then Miguel says there was a great town hall in the interior last weekend. I saw the video, some of the video of it, but we'll see. Willie says the House has a reconsideration vote today. Okay. Rob says it's both. So it's both a political maneuver and a way to reset the whole debate about the PFD thing. Or about the size of the BSA increase, rather. It's both. Depends on who you ask. That's true. That's true. All right. I think I'm all caught up. That was I was way behind this morning. Ron says they're going to make Dunleavy the fall guy, make the Republicans fail so Democrats can point figures during the next election, a vote for Peltola for governor. And that also, again, it's all about, again, that kabuki Machiavellian third move where I think, that could be part of it as well. So we'll see. We'll see. All right. Phone lines are open. And we're ready to take some calls from you. 319-527-3864. 319-527-3864. If you want to sound off, now's the time to jump in and do it. Let's get back to it. Here we go. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Here we go.
Buddy, put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Live around the world on the internet at michaeldukeshow.com and around the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or FM translator. Hello, my friends. Good morning. Welcome to the program. It is hour 2 of the big radio show. And if you are just joining us here on the program, we have been talking about the madness that happened down in the legislature over the weekend, starting with the debacle on Thursday in the Senate Finance Committee, where they stripped out all the policy provisions of the education bill from the House and then passed it out of finance, $1,000 BSA, which the governor immediately threatened to veto. And then on Friday, or Thursday night rather, the House had a shambolic. I love that word, shambolic. They had this whole mass chaos thing go on Thursday night where they couldn't get anything done. And then they had to pull back. They were trying to get the PFD amount reduced, couldn't get it done. So they pulled it back and then said, okay, well, we'll work on all this stuff on Monday. And then after the Republicans left on Friday, 3 of the Republicans who had excused absences, the minute that the plane left, they called a meeting of the House, and they passed it in the House. They passed the amendment when after saying we weren't going to do anything until Monday, and 30 minutes before the meeting, they dropped it on everybody's desk and said, "Oh, by the way, we're having a meeting," while everybody else was in the air. I mean, it's so predictable at this point. Willie Keppel had a real interesting take on this in Must Read Alaska, because he criticized Rep. Nellie Jimmy's vote on cutting the PFD because she had an emotional. It was emotional. It was tears in the eyes, and it was a tough deal. And she goes on to talk about how hard it is. Although I do take issue with the whole fact that she pretended like somehow this was all about people, taking vacations and buying big screen TVs and I don't know, hookers and blow and everything else. But it was only the rural people who really needed it for their heating oil and food. And I mean, I don't know what room she lives in, but that was definitely not my experience. Anyway, Willie Keppel's got an article over at Must Read. You can go check it out right now, but he's also on the line. So let's touch base with him and see what he has to say this morning on this. Good morning, Willie. How are you? What's your thoughts?
Oh, good morning, Alaska. My thoughts were I thought she was an absolute walking disaster.
Okay.
I was embarrassed.
Okay.
I was insulted.
Okay. And it
really pissed me off.
Well, I mean, remember, Willie, what was it? I can't remember who it was. Was it Jennifer Johnston or somebody who said that the PFD in the hands of everybody in the village was just going to buy alcohol or a new snow machine or something else? It was just kind of offensive, but this is kind of the opposite offensive. Like only the village, only the rural people can benefit. Anybody that lives on the urban, we were just using it for whatever frivolities. And all I can think of is, man, I've never used my PFD for a frivolity. It was always to put heating oil in the tank or, clothes for the kids for the new year or new tires on the vehicle for winter or something. It's kind of offensive, quite honestly.
Well, it was as racist as it can get, if you ask me. I mean, I live in a village that's right across the Kuskokwim Bay. Kuskokwim Bay is a pretty big place out here, but she's on the opposite side of the bay from us. You can take a boat from my house and drive right straight to her house, and probably hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. But yeah, her situation is no different than the situation that 850 of us in Quinhagak have. And it's no different than the situation my son with 4 kids going from toddler to 13 now, I guess the grandkids are now, living in Anchorage is, and he barely gets by. He goes to work every day, and he's not getting rich. He manages, but that money is needed. And for her to come out and say that we need to basically segregate how we're going to do this, and poor pitiful me over here, and big alligator tears flowing, it literally pissed me off. And I ran against Nellie last year, and I've been figuring this stuff out. I ran against Lyman the race before. I ran against Tiffany Zolkowski the race before that. And as a conservative out here, you're going to pull 30% of the vote, and that's pretty much about it, because you can't get all the couch sitters, no different than the rest of Alaska. The conservatives stay home. Conservatives don't do this, but the Democrats are out punching. I mean, even in the villages, you can see where the Democrats have a coordinated organization plan. You know, they move people to the polls, and that's where we keep getting beat. So I pretty well figured out that if you really want to grab a hold of anything out here, yeah, I'm not in Juneau. I want to be in Juneau. I would have voted exactly opposite, but that's not the way it is. So I've learned that Facebook is my greatest weapon out here. And right after she did this vote the other day, where first she voted 100% PFD in finance. That took a Facebook effort right out here, and we were getting over, I think over 35, if I remember right, 35 shares out here through the villages, because villages are not connected. They don't read the news, and if you want to get to them, you have to go through their for sale websites on the village sites. And so naturally, me posting politics every day, if you're a Facebook follower, you see me on the Republican sites pretty regularly, Anchorage, Fairbanks, Southeast, you know. But I've learned that just stay in their face, and that seems to be working out here. Every time I go out and I'm getting a lot of interaction with villagers that I never used to get. People are starting to get the message. And Nellie had a ton of pressure. If you notice her speech, the first thing she started out with was she's not speaking to the legislature, she's speaking to the people back home.
Right.
And then she starts that out after that.
Well, let me just interrupt. Let me just interrupt for a second, because she starts out by saying she's speaking to the people back home, but then she ends up telling them, that to help you out, I'm cutting the PFD. To help you out, I'm going to cut she talks about how hard it is out there and how all this stuff is real, the high fuel prices, the living. I mean, it's all tough. But then she goes out and says, to help you, I'm going to cut your PFD. That somehow this is free money, that this isn't your share of the money, but that I'm going to cut it to help you.
Well, the actual first line she starts out with after she explains who she's talking to was, I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm paraphrasing this right now, but I'm going to tell you the truth. The truth is, we all knew before we got down here, we did not have the money to pay a full PFD, which in itself is 100% friggin' lie. Like, what are you doing right now with your amendment? Where's the money coming from? It's coming from 2.5 billion of the people's dividend money that you are voting to steal. Why don't you start out with a bigger lie, like we don't have the money? Hell yeah, we got the money. We have 2.5 billion of it. And what are you doing with it? Yeah, I mean, it just went downhill from there. And so anyway, she's taken some serious beating, and I had a legislator give me a heads up yesterday. They're having a reconsideration vote in the House today. And so I started out another one last night. Well, let's just keep the pressure on. And over 40 shares instantly telling Nellie Jimmy to vote for the reconsideration and change your vote. Put the full PFD in there, back in.
Right.
She ran on paying the PFD, and now all of a sudden it's, well, whatever we can kind of afford. That's the same gig that Tiffany Zolkowski played, same gig that C.J. McCormick played. It's just wearing me out.
Well, Willie, this is exactly the lie. This is all part of the lie. The lie is we don't have the money to pay a full PFD because we've spent it on all these other things, which tells us one thing. You've got a priority problem. You've got a spending problem. If you've spent the full money, because you have the money for the PFD, you just refuse to prioritize it as the people's money. You believe that you know better than us how to spend our money, and that's why you've done that. That's what it is. It's the lie. She's bought into it. She's been subsumed by the pod people to say, we just don't have the money to pay a full, like it's government's. It's not your money. It's not your money. It belongs to us, and we should be able to have the say in the way that it's gone. But instead, they believe that they know better than us how to spend it. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. And the part that really jerks my chain is we had the election last year, and when you looked at the STIP list for schools, Tooksuk Bay wasn't even showing up on the list of a dozen. I mean, in the top dozen. Then we had the election. The election was finalized in November, and the way they ran their election out here was, it was a stick, lesson learned. They ran 3 Democrats, and because they knew nobody else was going to run besides me, so that gave them 3 out of the 4 slots on the ballot. They totaled up their three Democrat votes. Well, guarantee some dimwit's going to win. And the even bigger dummy's going to lose because he didn't recruit people to get on the ballot with him to take at least one of those 2 spots, 3 spots away. Anyway, the long and the short is that there was no Tooksuk on the top 12 for a new school. And all of a sudden, Nellie gets certified, and the big fight is on which side of the aisle is Nellie going to sit. Is she going to sit over here with people that are going to fight for the PFD and a somewhat balanced budget? Not that the Republicans are all that good at balancing anything either, but at least they try a little better. But all of a sudden, she announces she's going to go with the Democrats. Bryce got to her, and boom, end of November, the STIP list comes back out, and here's Tooksuk Bay, number 3 or number 4, all of a sudden on the list for brand new schools. And I'm going, well, isn't that a coincidence? No, it ain't. I don't think it's a coincidence at all. No, I'm not buying that. Bryce got what he wanted. Nellie got bought. She's getting a new school for Tooksuk, and it's all in the paperwork. I've printed it out so many times and pumped it across Facebook. You can go check. You can go look.
Yeah.
The long and the short, that was just the starter half on her. She was bought before she got there. And I don't think when we had the debates out here, we had one debate, Nellie couldn't answer a single question on anything financial. It was always her answer was, I have to go study that.
Yeah. Well, all right, Willie. Well,
are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you for thanks for writing that and for calling in this morning and making your voice heard. Appreciate you coming on board. Thanks so much. I got to go. I'm up against the break. Thanks, Willie. Appreciate it. All right, we got more phone calls ahead, including Ben Carpenter. We're going to continue here in just a moment. The Michael Dukes Show common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We return with more in just a moment.
Listened to by more staffers in Juneau than any other show because their bosses told them to. And after what they just heard, oh man, they're going to be pissed.
You're a bad, bad man.
The Michael Duke Show.
Okay, we're in the break right now. Ben Carpenter's on the line as well as Henry. Let's go to Henry real quick, see what he has to say. Good morning, Henry. What's on your mind?
Hey, morning, Mike. If you give me about 5 minutes to speak freely, I'm 71 years old and I'm a half-breed, so I can't be prejudiced against anybody. And there's a bird's eye view. I'll give you why things are happening and answer. Let me speak freely.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I think what they're doing in Juneau is all on purpose. Their handlers are making them do this. I remember Jennifer Johnson, she said, a lot of natives are too stupid to get a full PFD. And it came from people like Kermit Cole saying that Alaska natives need more money. But anyhow, this is all a plan of DNC. Remember, Senator Sullivan, he warned us DNC had their eyes on Alaska. They're being controlled by DNC, by Source, by Gates, and that foreign nation that wanted 3/4 of our natural gas. And they're, this morning, read my comments anyhow. This morning in the War Room, Steve Bannon, he say, we're the first stages of World War III. Unrestricted global warfare, and we've been hit with a biological weapon of mass destruction. Because, like here in the village, in the South Church, first hit the village, a lot of people are dying. It nobody says anything. But don't worry, if you got that shot, they have remedy to stop that spike protein and take out the blood clots. Anyhow, what's happening is they're trying to depopulate us and what they call it, replacement immigration. They find out there's thousands of illegal immigrants with Social Security numbers, getting Social Security unemployment, and Anchorage is almost collapsing under the weight of all the sanctuary cities. Look, them guys in Juneau, they must know that the government, that Trump is not going to support DEI. And man, I tell you guys, there's not a suicide in the village.
Yeah, no, it's a
young kids,
yeah.
Those teachers union, they tell us, school board, you ought listen here. I'm going to try how to fix it. Those guys need to be investigated. That the Americans are doing this because now the young people are they're taking their own lives after being taught LGBT in the classroom, and their parents. They say, don't tell your parents. It's happening. They're not teaching our kids.
Yeah.
They need to be investigated. And there's thousands of illegals working in our clinics from El Salvador, a lot of gay Filipinos teaching our kids.
Yeah.
This needs to stop. They need to investigate it. Next week's going to say it's going to sort it all.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Henry. I appreciate your call. I have seen your comments in the chat room, and I appreciate you sounding off this morning. Okay. Ben Carpenter is also waiting in the chat room, or waiting in the on the line here, and we're going to touch base with him here in just a second. He's the new host, by the way, of the Must Read Alaska podcast, which is I think it's just called the Must Read Podcast. I don't know. We'll get it from him here in a second, but we'll get his take as a former legislator, and to see what this is all about, because this is all intentional, and they're doing it on purpose. Anthony, I think, has one of the most cognizant comments for today. Just the fact that the mechanism of waiting for elected representatives to be otherwise indisposed and to force a vote intentionally where they couldn't vote officially and game the system exist should disturb us all. That means your vote is fictional and only given at the whims of the political elite when it suits them. Oof. So much truth. It hurts. All right. Well, we're going to continue here. Ben Carpenter's our guest up next. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Let's do this thing. Here we go.
The Michael Duke Show. Seriously humorous with a pinch of intellect. Sorry. That is humorous. Here's Michael Dukes.
All right. We are continuing with our discussion this morning about what's been going on at the legislature. I just want to quote, I got Ben Carpenter on the phone, but before I jump to him, Anthony, I think, makes a very valid point about everything that happened on Friday. And I want to highlight it here on the program today because I think it's very appropriate. Anthony says, just the fact that the mechanism of waiting for elected representatives to be otherwise indisposed and force a vote intentionally where they couldn't vote officially and to game the system should disturb all of us. That means your vote is fictional and only given at the whims of the political elite when it suits them. And he's not wrong. When they knew that the only way, and the press release says it all, folks. The press release says it very clearly. The intention was to wait until Monday to begin the amendment process as would normally occur. However, after the advance of last night, we knew finding the middle ground would come up short. We knew we couldn't change the minds. With that in mind, it became clear that it was the only path forward to maintain funding. The only path forward was to lie, deceive, and wait for these people to be indisposed and to force the vote intentionally where they could only make it happen in that way. Ben Carpenter joins us, former representative, now the host of the Must Read podcast. He joins us this morning to discuss this. Good morning, Ben. How are you?
Good morning, Michael. Good to be with you.
Thanks.
I'm doing good.
Thanks for coming on board. So, Ben, we're not surprised that this happened, right? I mean, we're not surprised that this went on. But I mean, hey, how many times do we have to be fooled and have that football pulled out in front of us before we stop trying to kick it?
Yeah, it's not surprising at all. I mean, I would anticipate that because of the dynamics between the majorities, having a very slim majority, and I'm talking about the dynamics within their own caucus. This is the best that they can do right now. Everything is being focused on November of 26, right? We're building our campaign strategies now through
right.
what we're doing, what we're able to say that we accomplished in the legislature in these two sessions. So we need to be able to say, hey, look, we had some success, or at least we attempted some success. See, look, I voted for $1,000
right
increase in the BSA.
Even though they
never
knew,
mind, we can't afford it.
Yeah, well, even though they knew it was doomed. I mean, members of the Senate, even members of the Finance Committee have been saying for weeks that $1,000 BSA is basically a non-starter. That $680, maybe they could swing that. But that $1,000 BSA is a non-starter. Then they get it in their hands, they strip out all the policies, and they pass it. That's nothing but political.
Right. And again, remember that we're going to have a gubernatorial election this next election cycle. And so there's a comment or a strategy here at play that's going to say, hey, look, you vote for a governor that gets the $1,000 BSA. We had it, we just didn't have the governor. So now we need a new governor that's going to give us the $1,000 BSA increase. Right? That's the strategy going forward. And it's, when you've got such a tight majorities, and I just want to also point out that the bipartisan majority was supposed to be the cat's meow. It's supposed to be the ideal thing here.
Right.
And really what we've got is a bunch of dysfunction that are, this is 100 in the House, it's 100% Kopp and Stutz. Like, they're responsible for this dysfunction. In the Senate, you've got Merrick, Bjorkman, and Giesel. They're responsible for the majority in that. This is a Republican problem, right? Like, we've got to do a better job communicating to the people that if you want to see a Republican governor succeed, then you got to send people down there that are going to help the governor succeed. We've got a challenge here with the electorate not being able to tell the difference between a Republican and a Democrat just based on, the letter behind their name. You got to know people better. These folks here are master manipulators. If you can't lead, then manipulate. That's the name of the game in the legislature right now.
Yeah. No, again, this is, again, some Machiavellian stuff. It's also a way to try and save face, because now if the governor vetoes it and they can't override it, which they make hay on, because, again, they lay it at the feet of the governor. They can lay it at the feet of anybody that doesn't vote to override the veto. Now they can go back without egg on their face and restart the conversation on the funding debate, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, this is chess moves all leading to February 26th. And to take a step back out, our oil revenue is down, our investment earnings are down, and we're likely going to see less federal money flowing into the state. We have a trifecta of bad things happening financially, and you've got a majority that is empowered by a handful of Republicans that is blind to the disaster that's coming to the state if we don't do something to fix this. If we don't start thinking long term about our fiscal situation, we're rapidly approaching a cliff. And I don't know. I'm watching, the past 6 years of being in the legislature and watching now being on the outside. I'm thinking we probably just have to go over the cliff before people, the voters, are going to recognize that they have to do something different. You have to send different people down there. You can't keep sending the same people.
Yeah, no, over and over. And we've talked about that on the program, that at this point, we might have just gone too far forward to go back, that nobody wants to take responsibility or make the hard choices. So again, it's like the addict. You have to absolutely strike rock bottom before you can make any substantive changes. And unfortunately, that means everybody gets hurt, right? I mean, that's where we're at. You said it. It's the trifecta. Oil prices continue to go down. There are some projections that are saying it's going to be in the mid 50s. They just factored the budget at $74 a barrel, according to the Department of Revenue. It's already down in the 60s, low 60s, and it could go into the 50s. You've got the PFD, the permanent fund, rather. You get the permanent fund, which is at a bit of a loss. It lost $2 billion, so the earnings potential is down. And you've got the Doge with the cuts and the lack of federal money. That's going to hurt us no matter what's happened.
That's exactly right. And you have to remember that the permanent fund is looking at a long-term horizon. So they're somewhere over 8% if you're looking at it at a decade-long investment horizon. But since February, they're at a little over 5%. And their goal is CPI, or inflation, plus 5% is their goal. So we're not meeting our immediate goals. And likely what you're going to hear either the tail end of this session or the next session is, hey, we need a constitutional amendment to protect that earnings reserve account.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Well, what they're really meaning is, hey, we don't have enough money in the earnings reserve account to pay for state government, so we need the people's permission to tap into the permanent fund corpus when we have federal money that's in decline, oil money that's in decline, and investment and earnings that are in decline, because we don't have enough money.
Right.
So this is the solution that the left, and I'm pointing to the left because it's left Democrats and it's left Republicans who look to government for solutions. That's what this whole session is about, is promoting government solutions for November 26. We're going to promote the government solutions, and we need access to that permanent fund because we're not even looking at a private economy. We're not even considering it. We don't even consider the things that we do down there and what impact they would have on a private economy.
Right. No,
we're 100% focused on what government can do to take care of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that's part of the problem. And this has been what I've been warning about for years, this fear. And I mean, again, this is one of the reasons why you and others squawked about these ad hoc transfers out of the earnings reserve into the permanent fund, supposedly for inflation proofing. But they've forgotten those promises back in the day. And now we've got a low ERA, and this is all a manufactured crisis. This was all intentional so that they could get access to the corpus of the fund. Now, I'm sure that they're telling themselves, oh, we'll be responsible. We won't overdraw it. We'll do what we need to do. But again, there'll be another crisis, and there'll always be something, and they'll start eating the seed corn.
That's exactly the narrative that they will say, is that, hey, we're going to do a constitutional amendment where we are capped. We're going to have a spending cap from the permanent fund. We're going to protect it with a cap, that we can't draw any more than 5%, right? But what happens when you've got a year where you're just barely at 5% or you're below 5% earnings, right? Our own legislative finance director in committee has said, hey, if you reduce the principal of the fund in a low investment earning year, then you're hurting the fund's ability to grow into the future. But that's exactly why we would need the access to the permanent fund itself, is because in the low investment years, when we don't have enough investment earnings in the ERA, which is populated 100% by earnings from the previous year, right? So if we don't have enough earnings, we need to dip into the corpus. And the only time you do that, the only time that's going to be necessary is when you have a market decline. So we have people in charge in the legislature who are incredibly short-sighted, focused on government, and not focused on economic growth, and it is going to financially ruin the state.
Do you have any predictions? I know that Willie said that today apparently there's a reconsideration vote coming up today. Any predictions on what you think is going to happen today? Do you think anything's going to change?
No, nothing's going to change. They're in the whole goal here is to get a BSA increase bill to the governor and have him veto it. Well, think about it. I mean, if that doesn't happen for some reason, then they don't have that topic to talk about with as much force in the election. Well, they need the governor to veto the bill.
Right. Well, the reconsideration is on the House side for the PFD and that vote. Do you think that will change now that members are back, or what do you think? Do you think they'll try and hold it before the members are back and seated, or what do you think is going to happen?
Oh, my apologies, Michael. I thought we were talking about the BSA.
No.
As far as the PFD is concerned, I don't think anything changes per se. I think that the calculus in each one of the members' minds is, I cannot vote on a reduction on the permanent fund dividend, statutory dividend. It can't be perceived that I voted against a full statutory dividend. And if that's what's going to be facing the legislature or the actual vote,
right?
Then they can be held responsible for it. And you're specifically looking at the Western Alaska as being the one here that really matters. This all hinges on the folks that need it the most, right?
Right.
The folks that are
but
hurting the most when government takes that money.
Of course, this is where we see Nellie Jimmy tell us that.
So my prediction is no, nothing changes.
Of course, this is where we see Nellie Jimmy tell us that she's taking the PFD to protect us. That's what the answer is that she's taking the PFD for protect us. Ben, we're coming up at the end of the segment here. Tell us a little bit about your podcast and what you're doing right now, and where folks can find it and what it's all about.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. The Must Read Alaska show can be found on YouTube and any of the popular podcast sites. We do a video portion of it that's published to YouTube, but if you go to any of your podcast sites, you can get the audio version of it. And I'm pretty excited about it. I mean, it's an opportunity to have conversations about things that matter, get to explore truth and conservative principles. I just had a conversation with Congressman Begich, and that will be published today. So keep your eyes open for that. it'll be very enlightening. It was a very good conversation, almost an hour long with him. So yeah,
it's always
super
good.
excited to keep pushing forward on the conservative narrative with the Must Read Alaska show.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you, Ben, and thanks for sounding off on this. We should have you back for a long form here on the program to talk about all these things, especially now that you're out, and you've got a good perspective, because you've been there, done that, got the T-shirt, so to speak, and now you can comment from the outside looking in. Welcome to the I guess the outside club. This is where we can do a lot of good, you and I. In this kind of stuff, being able to call them like we see them and not be afraid to hurt somebody's feelings, which I think is a good thing. We've got to be able to call the balls and strikes without people getting mad at us because we have to work with them. You know, I know that was always a challenge when you were in the legislatures. You don't want to besmirch anybody, but sometimes you got to call a spade and say, this is what's going on. This is the cards that are being played. And I'm glad you're able to do that.
Yeah, well, thanks, Michael. It's always fun coming and having a conversation with you and your listeners. And yeah, we're in a time period in life where the kinder, gentler human being exists, and sometimes the truth hurts, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, no, exactly. That is exactly unfortunate that they can't. Sometimes you can't handle the truth, right? That's what it's all about. All right, Ben. Well, thank you so much for coming on board this morning. I appreciate it. We'll get you back on maybe later this week, and we'll have some deeper conversations. Ben Carpenter, our guest here on the program, the Michael Duke Show. Hold the line for a second, Ben. All right, or don't hold the line. We're going to be back with more. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. One final segment dead ahead. They've even got the kids involved in this, but. Is it really working? I mean, I'm just asking for a friend. All right, we're going to continue with that story here in just a moment. Maybe even some good news. I don't know. I have to read it during the break to give you the good news. I wasn't prepared for this, but everybody in the chat room is clamoring. Please give us some good news. We'll be back right after this.
Running on 100% pure beard power. Oh, also some coffee. We dip our beard in coffee.
Nice beard.
The Michael Duke Show.
Okay. There you go. Melissa said, a little off topic, but if you haven't gotten your real ID, you'll need to get it done by May the 7th if you plan to fly and don't have a passport. Yeah, the real ID thing. We've had the exemption for so long, and now we're going to be in deep trouble if you don't do it. Yeah. She says she apparently didn't do it, and she says, I was dumb and did not do it. Jump through the hoops now. Don't be like me. Oh, man. All right. Whoever stated it earlier, I believe, was on point. Our children are paying for their own education by use of the PFD as a tax. Yeah, that was Rob Myers said that. You know, children are paying their own tuition to school for a failing education. That's pretty much the bottom line there. It's a hot mess. Yeah. Oh, and Teresa says, thank you, Melissa. I didn't know that. Yeah, by May the 7th. By May the 7th, you got to have it all done. Otherwise, no flying for you. Fat Ray says, Nick Begich. Now, that's a guest we've not seen in a long time. We had Nick on the program about 8 weeks ago. And we're going to try and get him on again here in this, hopefully before the end of the month. We'll see if we can get him on. But we're working on it. We're working on it now. It's busy. Getting easier and easier to show me your papers. Show me your papers. Jim says, I got the real ID and I still don't understand its purpose. It's to make sure that you are you and not a terrorist. Apparently, that's the whole point. Yeah. Okay. All right. I guess I'm all caught up on the comments. You guys were get caught up, I think. Let me see here. Government is a consumer, not a producer. If government jobs went away and private industry took over, we will be fine. If the private sector goes away, we will fail. Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. Right now, we don't have, our private economy is suffering and struggling. Right now, it's basically a giant service economy with very little manufacturing. We need to have more manufacturing base and things that we can do there. But here we are, How about some good news, says Brian, says Greg. Okay, let me look real quick. I got 2 minutes here. You guys are, okay. That's a good one. We'll do this one here too. And we'll do this one. Okay. All right. I got 3 stories. We're going to read them all. We'll read them all together. Okay. We'll read them all together. And we'll see if we can, we'll see if you, we'll see if we can learn something fun together here as we go through. How about that? Okay. Where are we at? Just under 2 minutes. I don't want to duplicate the stories. Okay. So I got 3 good news stories. Is that how you guys want to end it? Good news has been canceled until June, says Rob Myers. Oh, there you go. I do want to talk about this students' statewide walkout. I will talk about that first, and then we'll get to the good news. Okay, Greg? I'm sorry. I have been wanting to get this story because I just want to mock it. I just want to mock it. Sometimes these kids, they're being used in so many ways. It's so frustrating to watch these poor kids be used in so many ways. Anyway, we're going to talk about this. And we'll see what happens. All right. Tomorrow on the program, Brad Keithley is back. Chris Story is back. Everybody's back to full strength. We're ready to go. So we're going to, we'll be ready. You thought today was bad. Tomorrow will be even more fun. It'll be even more fun. I can see you guys rolling your eyes already. I can feel the eye roll from here. It's amazing. All right, let's get back to it. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. 12 seconds out. Let's do this thing. You ready? Here we go.
Public enema number 1. Oh, wait, sorry. Public enemy number 1, which makes more sense. On the other hand, he's a little bit of a pain in the Michael Duke Show.
All right. I have been instructed by the chat room that I have to do some good news. So we're going to do some good news at the very end of the show today. We got a few minutes here. So I did want to get to this last story before we go anywhere. Because I don't know about you, but one of the things that just truly offends me is the manipulation of the kids and the utilizing of the kids as a political tool. We'd like to think that somehow this is all the kids' idea. This has nothing to do with, any kind of agenda or something else. But I think we all kind of know that this is we know that this isn't really about, this is not the kids coming up with a lot of this. Students across Alaska took part in walkouts on Friday in support of education funding. So they quote some of the different students in here. We really, really need to see an increase in the BSA because that is a permanent increase to funding, said Edison Moyer of West Anchorage, a high school student there, high school student senior. So they're got all these kids around the state, and apparently it was organized by who? I don't really know, but apparently there was walkouts all over the place. In students in Anchorage, Wasilla, Palmer, and Fairbanks participated in the walkout. And apparently there were others that were coming through. But I love it when they get these kids on camera because they say things that are so profound. Like, education's not just about learning in the classroom. It's about having those social interactions, learning how to behave in different areas and different settings in your life. Well, that's not what education's about. That's called life experience. That's not education. But that's not something that should be engineered by the schools. I mean, you should be learning the basics of reading, writing, and arithmetic. Sorry. Public education has been that area we've had to learn a lot of those life skills that we may not be able to pick up in other places. Like where? Like in life? Like going out and meeting people? Like going... It's crazy. The story goes on to talk about how walkouts were seen at most Anchorage area high schools where the district had announced significant cuts, and it goes on to talk about the $107 million and all the teaching positions that are going to be closed, and the schools and the sports and the special programs and everything else. Now, of course, all the school districts wrote statements saying that they support the students' right to free speech and they support all this kind of stuff. Only one school had planned a walkout. It doesn't say if the walkout actually happened in the Mat-Su. In Fairbanks, the planned walkout was seen to a lesser degree. Only 4 students left class to gather in the parking lot outside the front entrance on Friday afternoon. We used to call those the stoners. I mean, they go out and you know what I mean? Anyway, West Valley High and Hutchinson saw no students gather outside, you know. But basically, this is all so much of this is, again, just more theater. Diamond High School had what looks like about a dozen students, and West High School had, maybe 30 or 40 students out there with all these signs and stuff. So and some of them had the actual NEA signs, the pre-printed NEA signs. But don't worry, this is all their idea. It was all the kids' idea. It had nothing to do with they didn't want to get out of class or do anything else. 4 students in Fairbanks. My first question would be, how did you guys organize this? How did you organize a full for across the state? Are you guys, is somebody help you, or with that? I'm asking for a friend. I'd like to know what you have to say. All right, let's get to the good news. We've only got a few minutes here, and I wanted to. They're begging for some good news in the chat room. So there's already an Amber Alert for children. Now, one entrepreneur has asked the question, why isn't there an Amber Alert for pets? And if you've lost your pet, if your pet has ever run away, or I remember one time my previous dog, Ruger, I was at a car wash and I was vacuuming out the car. He was in the car and I was vacuuming out the car, and I didn't realize that he'd hopped out of the car on the other side while I was vacuuming, and I got in and I drove away, and it was a couple minutes before I realized he was gone. And that was a panic-inducing thing. I really, panic. Anyway, why isn't there an Amber Alert for pets? That's how Fido Alert was born. Using technology, a QR code and SMS texting, it's an alert for animals, and the best part, it's free. It currently has over 1 million members across 50 states with 1.5 million pets registered. And 40,000 pets have been reunited with owners using a unique Fido ID or QR tag system. When a pet goes missing, an owner can trigger an alert for anyone within a few miles of the pet's last known location. If the lost pet is found, The animal's QR code is on their tag, their dog tag, and they can be scanned, which triggers a notification delivered to the owner and up to 10 emergency contacts. So if they scan that QR code on your dog's collar, you get a text message. Hey, guess what? Here it is. The SMS-based alert system, which the company says uses privacy-protected contact information, means no app is required to download. Every pet owner who registers at the website gets a free tag with a QR code and a unique pet ID that comes with the ability to be notified when your pet is found, even if you're unaware of their absence. And they said, the founder, John Bradford, said, I wanted to create a product as part of a social mission where we would make it free to every pet owner. My hope is that every pet owner in America signs up for Fido Alert. So if the unthinkable happens, there'll be another layer of protection so pets can be reunited with their owners. People said they got their free tag and everybody's excited. So how does it work? You add a profile at FidoAlert.com, register your pet, you get a user profile where the pet's information's managed. Then you can add emergency contacts that will be notified if somebody finds the pet. Add multiple photos for each pet to aid in proper identification. And you could put a profile up there. When an alert is triggered, the SMS text is sent to any network members within close proximity to the pet's last known location. And pet owners will occasionally receive alerts from nearby neighbors when member pets go missing. So this sounds like a good deal. And it's free. I mean, it's not a bad thing. So go to FidoAlert.com and you can register your pet. It's all free. It's some good news. That's a free reunited 40,000 animals already. Super. I dig it. I guess I'll be registering Bosco later today. I've already got my number on his tag, but this would be a good way to do it. Get that QR code on that tag and make it happen. That is super cool. FidoAlert.com. All right. I had a couple more stories, but we're all out of time. So that's it for today. We will see you guys tomorrow for Tuesday. Brad Keithley, Chris Storia will be joining us. Wednesday, we already have somebody lined up for Wednesday. I'm trying to remember who it is. I can't remember. I was just going to look real quick to see if I could tell you who it was. I've forgotten already. That's how the days all bleed together. Okay. We'll see where we can go. All right, my friends, be kind, love one another, live well. We'll see you tomorrow, The Michael Duke Show. Okay, my friends, well, yes, Bosco does have a chip. Yep, he does have a chip. He's got the tag, he's got the chip, he's got all the stuff. Don't do it, man. They're brainwashing your dog to spy on you. It's possible. I love that. All right, my friends. Well, we'll see you tomorrow. We'll be bringing the pain tomorrow. Oh, it should be fun. All right, we will see you guys later. Be kind. Love one another. Live well. The Michael Duke Show. We'll see you.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.
Goodbye.